Hi, I'm Michelle Chalfant, psychotherapist, holistic life coach, and human just like you, learning to navigate life's challenges. With over 25 years experience, I teach people how to get healthy using the adult chair model. The adult chair model is where simple psychology meets grounded spirituality, and it teaches us how to become healthy adults. From anxiety and depression to codependency and relationship issues, you can use the adult chair for just about anything. Each week, I share practical tips, tools, and advice from myself and a wide range of experts on how to get unstuck, how to live authentically, and how to truly love yourself, all while sitting in your adult chair. Welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. I am Michelle Chalfant. Happy to be here with you today. Yes, indeed, the holiday season is upon us, which is why I love having very, very special guests on to talk about things that can always help us, not only through the holidays, but sometimes it's all year long or it's for the rest of your life, which is what we're going to be talking about today with LaShonda Walker. She's on today, and we're going to be talking about what's called a new life story process. This helps you to, guess what? Get rid of, annihilate limiting beliefs that could be generational. So we've got a really, really fascinating show for you guys. I cannot wait for you to hear this, because let me tell you what, every single human can relate to what LaShonda does. So you're going to want to hear this show. Anyway, I also want to mention before we jump right into the podcast that we have the Adult Chair Coaching Certification Program. It is live and ready for you to check it out. So check it out over at theadultchair.com/certification. Okay. So let me tell you, before we jump into the podcast, a little bit more about LaShonda Walker. With over 2 decades of distinguished service in both the military and federal service, LaShonda Walker stands out as a seasoned communication expert. In her role as a certified adult chair life coach, parent educator, and the host of the podcast, A New Life Story, Consciously Uncovering Your Authentic Self, LaShonda extends her expertise to guide individuals on a journey of self-discovery. Her mission is clear. It is to help heal generations one person at a time by uncovering false narratives, dismantling emotional barriers, and breaking free from generational patterns, keeping them stuck in unhealthy cycles. Welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast, LaShonda Walker.
Thank you, Michelle. It is so good to be here with you. I am just honored to be a part of the show today and just to see your beautiful face again.
Well, I was saying the same thing for you. I was like, you look gorgeous. What's going on here? Which you always do. Don't get me wrong.
No, I get it. Because, some days.
Hey, we showered and we glammed up today for the podcast. So for those watching us on YouTube, we have glammed up for you guys.
We're here. We are here.
Check us out. We are
Absolutely.
on YouTube. And you got to check out LaShonda's background. It looks really, really good, I got to say. Anyway, all right. So you have one of my adult chair coaches, which I love that you're doing this work. It's transformational work. Mm-hmm. I'd love to hear about this new life story. Tell us about what you've got going on here.
Sure. So a new life story really came about when I became familiar with the adult chair. I'll tell you a little bit of background of how I found the adult chair. That's kind of how I introduced people to it. So I was a young mom and trying to figure out all the things, particularly around the area of raising children and discipline. And I was having some challenges with my son, and I was thinking to myself, okay, I need some help with this kid. So I just started, Googling things and going on podcasts, and I just typed in child, and I came across the Adult Chair podcast, and it was the episode on the child chair. And I was like, oh, this might be it. We're going to put him in a chair. This is it. Yes, we are going to put him in a chair. So I was at work and I was listening to the episode, and it hit me. I said, oh my God. this has nothing to do with him. This has everything to do with me. And
Mhm.
so, of course, like so many people, I became a huge fan of the podcast and I began using it to do my own work.
Mhm.
And that is how the New Life Story coaching came about, because what I discovered in using the adult chair model is what I now do as a coach, which is it's a 3-step process. It is exploring your past. That's the first thing
Mhm.
we do when we're looking at things. Because when you explore your past, you're able to then heal your present. Whatever's coming up in the present, it didn't just happen. It's
Mhm.
been there. It's like we talk in agriculture, seed time and harvest. A seed was planted, you waited some time, here's the harvest. And then finally, when you're healing your present, it's to transform your past. It's to transform your legacy, rather. So for me, it
Mm.
started with my son thinking I was going to put him in a chair to discipline him. And then I ended up
Putting
having to
yourself, you put
find
yourself in a
I
chair.
put myself in a chair. So that's just kind of a little bit of what I do. And really, how it works is when clients come and see me, it doesn't matter what they come and see me for. It could be something triggering them as simple as I am stressed out at work and I'm frustrated and I'm irritated. So then we'll start looking at that. Okay,
Mhm.
well, what is that coming up? And then when we start doing the work and we kind of start unpacking things. I'll ask them questions, like, unwinding questions. Okay, well, what's this?
Mhm.
What's that? And
Right.
I'm finding with my clients that when things are coming up in their present, it is connected to the past. And as we
Mhm.
begin to look at that, we discover limiting beliefs that are there. So, for example, I had a client that was really hitting a wall at work and she was
Mhm.
just frustrated. She was like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm always saying yes to things. I'm never saying no. I don't, she's just the point where she was just done. She was like, I'm ready to quit.
Mhm.
So, as we were doing some work around that, she started just processing things. I said, well, where did you learn this from?
Ooh,
this
good
this
question.
concept of like overworking yourself. Where did you see this at? And so she thought about it a little bit and she was like, I said, did you see your mom? Like, who did you get this from? And then she said, oh, it was my grandma.
Ooh.
I said, well, tell me more about that. She was like, my grandma was always doing. She was always doing. She never sat down. She never rested. She was just going, going, going. And she just worked herself into the ground, like literally, like until she
Mm.
passed away. She just worked herself. And I said, well,
Wow.
is it possible that maybe grandma did that because that's maybe what worked for grandma back then? And she sat and she thought about it. And she's like, no, grandma didn't like it either.
Ooh.
And I was like, okay.
Mm. That's good stuff.
Okay. So that's where we start. We start at what is coming up today. And
Mhm.
then as we start doing our unwinding work, what's coming up today, when we start, it's like a thread and you kind of pull that thread. And as you pull
Mhm.
the thread, you start going back and you start going back and you realize, oh my God, this isn't even because that's the point she got to. She was like, this isn't even my stuff.
Right.
This, this isn't even mine. And so from there, we begin to do the healing work of, so, okay, so let's look to see what is true for you today.
Mhm.
What is going to work for you that maybe wouldn't work for grandma, but now you have the options and the opportunities to make it work for you if we set boundaries around it, if we learn how to set boundaries, teaching you about your worth. So that's a little bit of a kind of an overview of how I use the model in
Mm.
when I'm working with clients and helping them to look for a new story for their life.
How transformational and empowering. Like I'm listening, I'm like, wow, because I didn't know about this model prior to right this second. Like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
know the name of the podcast, but your
Yeah.
podcast. This is incredible. I
Yeah.
love this work going after those limiting beliefs from generations past. I mean, huge, huge stuff
Yeah.
you're doing here. This is great. So, would you be willing to maybe walk myself and the audience that's
Sure.
listening
Yeah.
through this process, through this a new life story process, so that maybe they can get a glimpse of something or maybe discover something that they are living with today, like a limiting belief, maybe from their past.
Sure. So one of the things that I would start with, like, let's say, Michelle, if you had something coming up, like
Mhm.
if you were to come into my office, I would ask you, okay, so what brings you in today? What's going
Oh,
on? What's happening?
okay. Oh, geez. I didn't know I was going to be on the spot. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. I love doing personal work. So let's go. Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. how do I feel today? Just in general, like
Just in
what's coming
general.
up for me?
Yeah, what's coming up?
Stepping into my power.
Okay.
I'm realizing I'm doing that more and more and more. And I'm reaching like a comfort zone, and then I push out a little bit and then I get more. So it's like, that
Mhm.
is what I'm working on big time. Yeah. Really
Okay.
owning myself, stepping into fully who I am.
Okay. So how do you feel about stepping into your power? How is that feeling for you?
Mm, I'm going to say, and it's an ongoing process. I've been doing this for years, but I'm going to say when we hit our edges
Mhm.
of really claiming who we are fully, um, and pushing on those edges,
Mhm.
sometimes it's really uncomfortable. It's
Yeah.
uncomfortable. It feels scary. It feels uncomfortable and actually scary. Sometimes I find myself like, oh boy, how old am I? I have to remind myself how old I am. Cause sometimes I'm like, gosh, I feel like a little kid. Cause it can be, it's a big deal. The more that, and here is what it's all about. It's like, I love what I do so much with this work. I love everything that I put out in the world. And the more I put out, of course, the more I'm seen, the more I'm known. Okay.
Mhm.
So wait, I feel like I'm having a session with you. Because I'm
Oh,
having
please go for it.
awarenesses. So the
Yeah.
more I'm seen, the more I'm known. And it's like bigger and bigger and bigger, which I'm not driven by that. But there's
Mhm.
also this element of like, oof, sometimes I'm like, wait, I got to do that now. So it's like those edges, like we'll get up on a bigger stage because more people need to hear from you. Someone told me to do a TED. I've heard for a couple of years, you need to get on the TED Talk stage. I'm like what? Like scared. That scares me. But
Yeah.
I also know it's needed because my mission is to help bring healing into this world. So if that means I can reach more people, that's what I want to do. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does answer my
Okay.
question. And I would say to you, there's a couple of things that came up. There was several times that you talked about this thing called the edge. You
Yes.
mentioned there's the edge, there's the
Yep.
edge, there's the
Yep.
edge. So you keep pushing against these edges, right? And then there was a moment when you're like, oh my God, I feel like a little kid. So,
Mhm.
and you talk about continuing to push yourself. Well, was there a time in your life that you didn't push yourself?
Yes, for sure.
Hmm.
For
Tell me
sure.
a little bit about that.
I find that I've done some reflection around this. The times that I don't push myself would be
Mhm.
the times that I feel like I'm a little kid, which is pretty rare these days. But I know that when I was growing up, I would like revert back to this younger version of myself.
Mhm.
If we're going to talk parts work, which we do in the adult chair, it's like
Right, exactly.
sometimes I'm like, hold on. And I'll even say to my husband sometimes, I'm like, hold on, I feel like I'm 5. Let me grow up for a second. Let me get in my adult chair and then I'll talk from that place. But
Yeah.
yeah, does that answer your question?
It does. So when you were younger and you were kind of afraid to show up, I usually ask this question.
Mm-hmm.
When you were afraid to show up as a
Mm-hmm.
kid, who made you afraid?
Oh, probably you know what? As much as, yeah, and this is a new discovery I've had just in the last few months with my dad. Um,
Mm,
as much as my dad loved and adored me unconditionally, I don't feel like there was a um, protection from his brother, the identical twin. Not that
yeah,
anything that I can remember that happened other than verbal and emotional abuse towards my mom and towards other people in the family. But I was in the crossfire of it as a little kid. So,
yeah, yeah. So
mhm,
your dad had a twin brother, and so the
mhm.
twin brother was, if I'm hearing you correctly, more vocal dominant than your father was.
Oh, rager, angry, alcoholic, probably narcissist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So dad was more
It-
shrunk down,
yeah. Yeah.
hidden.
He didn't protect anyone from from his twin
Yeah,
because it was a twin. And he said he couldn't do it because it was a twin.
because it was a twin. So therein lies where the root of your fear of being seen begins. It wasn't even
Oh,
yours.
oh, interesting.
It
So
wasn't even
it
yours.
was my dad's.
It's your dad.
Really standing up and stepping up for what he believes in.
Mhm. Your dad's. So you saw that. You saw that. You sat in that energy.
Oh my God. I'm having like a huge epiphany light bulb, like one of those emojis, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah. That's what we do. So you look at that and now you're at a place where you keep pushing against the edge because
Yeah.
even though that unconscious belief is there, you've done a lot of work around it. You know how to sit in your adult now. You know what's fact and truth. So every time you push that edge is letting go of dad's stuff because it's not yours.
Whoa, this is good.
It's not yours.
Oh my God, I love this.
Yeah. Yeah. So you get to show up in your adult, and now you are setting a different example for your children as what it looks like to not play small. And even if you feel that sense of playing small, you're showing your children push against the edge.
Oh, I love
Against
this.
the edge.
Oh my God, this
Yeah.
is phenomenal. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Okay. Thank you. God.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Let's take the whole audience through it now.
Okay. Okay. Let's do it.
This is freaking awesome. I had no
Yeah.
idea you're doing this work over there. Good job,
Yeah.
adult chair coach of mine.
Well, thank you. I
really-
had a great teacher.
Well, thank you, baby. This is freaking amazing. I love it. All right. All right, you guys. I just did it
Yes.
on air. Now it's all your turn. You ready?
Yeah. Sure.
Let's go, girl. Let's walk the audience through this. I love this process. This is powerful.
Yes. We don't realize how much we bring from our past. There's a great statement that I love, and it says that the body keeps the score. And the issues are in the tissues, right? And so that's one of the things that I've learned in this journey of doing the work, and especially using the adult chair model, is when I go in and love the journaling exercises and the prompts. When I start writing and you put that full body experience into it, you start asking yourself these questions. Like, for example, today's journal prompt was around thoughts, right? So you start thinking about your thoughts. Okay, whose thought is this? Where does this come from? So when you have things that come up, so for the audience, what is coming up for you right now? Whatever it may be, a limiting belief, an emotion, an emotional block, whatever it may be. Okay, let's take a look at where did this originate? Okay, this came from my childhood, or I had an experience when I was 15 or 16. Okay, what happened at 15 or 16? Well, my mom did XYZ to me. Okay, got it. Okay, so then we start to look at, well, what was going on with mom at the time?
Yeah.
What was happening with mom?
So is this, I know you have 5 steps to this. This is step number 1.
Yeah. So step number 1 is exploring your past, looking to see what's the past. Yes. What happened in the past that brought me here?
So something's coming up for you now. So everyone listening, what's coming up? I like that you said this. Is there a trigger? Is there an emotion? You know, some people do not know what their limiting beliefs are. Like, I wouldn't have linked these two together.
Yes.
So what if someone doesn't exactly know? What do you say to them?
So usually when people don't know, we work with it a little bit. So I work one-on-one with my clients, and we'll talk through some things. And that's usually where we'll do the unwinding question. If it's still not coming up, I'll give them some homework to start journaling around it. And usually once you put that pen to paper and you put your stuff, just starts to flow. And then they come back and they're like, oh my God, this, and this came up. Okay, well then let's look at that part of the story. Let's look at what came up in that part of the story. So once they have that part, right, of whatever the limiting belief is, it's worthiness, it's fear, it's doubt, unbelief, whatever it is, then we say, okay, well now we have that piece of the story, right? Know that that's the root of where it came from when you're exploring your past. Okay, that came from mom, that came from dad, that came from grandma.
Good stuff.
So the second step is, okay, what do we need to use with this piece of the story to heal the present moment?
Okay.
And in that, when we're looking at the past, we take that part of the story that they've uncovered and we start asking what's fact and truth.
Okay.
What's fact and truth? What do we know to be? So you created a story when you were 5. You know, dad was a rager, uncle was a rager. Oh, well, what do we know about uncle today? Well, he had a really rough upbringing.
Yeah.
Was a wounded boy. Okay, so now we know that to be true. So was his behavior really an attack on you, or was he just not able to process his own stuff in a healthy way? So then they're like, oh, okay. So now we have fact and truth. So that part of the story, we have to edit. So now we have to edit that part of the story. Now we know this is what was going on. It wasn't me. So then we begin to do the healing work with what we know to be fact and truth in that second step of healing the present.
Okay.
And as you're doing that work of healing the present, your emotions, your triggers, whatever that is, working with those adolescent stories.
Yes.
Then you heal. that healing then begins to transform your legacy. Because what happens, Michelle, is as we change, the people around us begin to see the change. They
Mm-hmm.
begin to feel the change, whether
Yep.
it's family members, our
Mm-hmm.
children. I know when I started doing this work, in the beginning, I was one way. And now I even have my children, they'll come to me and they'll say, Mom, what's wrong? Let's talk about it. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll be like, no, I'm good. It's fine. No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, no, no. What are you really feeling? Where are you feeling it, Mom?
I love this.
You need to take a deep breath. It's okay, Mom. Just take a deep
Oh
breath.
my God, I
So,
love it.
so without realizing it, you're changing, and then others around you are seeing it, and then they're making that adjustment to the change. So now you're transforming a legacy of your story. So now you're writing a whole new story. There's a great saying in the Native American community that says it's called a 7-generation story. And
Mm-hmm.
it says they look at life past and present, and that every time you heal a part of yourself, you heal 7 generations behind you and 7 generations ahead of you. And
Wow.
that's very powerful.
Huge.
That's very, very
Huge.
powerful. So, like using the example that you used with your dad, Michelle, when you do your healing work, you're healing your father
Yes. Yes.
and healing his brother,
Yeah.
which
And
is
their
huge.
father and their father and their
Yeah.
father and
Yes.
mother, grandmother, yeah.
So
So
your experiences and what you experienced led you to this work.
yeah.
And your work has transformed your legacy. And not just your legacy, but your work and you putting your work out there is
Mhm.
also transforming the legacies of other people all over
Mhm.
the world,
Wow.
which
Wow.
is huge.
Huge. I love
It's
this.
big. Yeah. So those are the first 3 steps. So we explore your past,
Yep.
begin to heal the present,
Mhm.
transform the legacy. In the
Okay.
midst of those 3 steps, what
Yeah.
we incorporate is what's called the 5 W's, just
Okay.
like story writing. In
Okay.
story writing, remember back in the day in elementary school, middle school, you had the who, what, when, where, why, how.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I work with the 5 W's when we're looking at the story. We might ask in one part, who told you this? Who said this was true? How did this where did this how did this truth come? Is this truth? So you using the 5 W's, you begin to ask those questions: who, what, when, where,
Mm.
why, and sometimes how. And that's how, when I'm working with my clients, we begin to transform those stories. And and sometimes, Michelle, I'm telling you, one session it will come up of I was arguing with my husband, and now I don't want to speak to him. And then the next session is, oh my gosh, I took that writing assignment. I went through the who, what, when, where, why, how, to realize that what
Oh,
I was going
wow.
through had nothing to do with him. It was something from my past came up.
Dang.
Okay, so now we can go back and write the story. And I love, because my background is in communications and PR. So I
Mhm.
use this example with my clients all the time. I said, you go online and you read a news story, right?
Mhm.
So usually
Mhm.
when you read a news story, a breaking news story, and it's online, it'll be posted, it'll have the headline, it'll have the day it was posted and the time,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
But over time, an emergency or the story can get new information. And so the writers and the reporters have to do what? Go back and edit the story.
Mhm.
And then when they edit the story, the new date and time for where the new information came online is now at the top of the headline. And I tell my clients it's the same thing with your life. Sure, something happened to you
Mhm.
in 1987, 1979,
Mhm.
1962. But what do you know to be fact and truth? What new
Ooh,
information do you
good.
have online that you can use to update the story for 2023, 2024, whatever your present moment is?
Ooh, that's so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oof. Dang, I love this.
It's the model, I'm telling you. And all throughout it, we incorporate the adult chair model. Sometimes we tap back to the inner child. Sometimes I do spend a lot of time in that adolescent phase. That's what
Yeah.
most come
Oh,
online.
yeah. Yeah.
Literally, like I have 2 middle schoolers and I go up to the middle schools a lot. It's drama. It is
Oh,
just
Yes, for sure.
They just create stories, right? And that's
Always.
what you do in the adolescent. So then you need an adult to come in, which is where I help my clients bring their adult online and say, okay, you get to be referee. Wait a minute. Okay.
Mm. Yeah.
What is true here? Okay,
Yeah.
how can we
Yeah.
edit this story to make it real for today?
That's really powerful. Give me another example of what that would look like. How do you edit the story to make it? Give me a client example around that.
Yeah, so I had a client that was going through some family issues, some challenges in her family. And it was feeling as if I don't want to be with this family anymore. Like, I'm not
Mm,
wanted here. This family doesn't want me. My kids don't like me. Why am I even here? Let me just get out of this. So we were like,
right.
okay. So I said, okay, well, let's talk about it. So the client was sharing about what the experience was with the kids. I said, okay. So then we started doing some unwinding questions. Again, the 5 W's:
Yep.
who, what, when, where, why, how. So in the process of exploring the past, well, let's take a look at the past. Where did you first start feeling this sense of not fitting in or not being wanted? Oh, well, I felt it
Oh.
in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, high school. What happened in high school? Then there's the story around high school. I let people get the stories out. What story? Because all these stories are part of the bigger story.
Totally.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so you felt that in high school. Let's go back a little further. Client goes back further. Oh my gosh. Literally a moment when I was 5, this incident happened with my dad, and I just felt so alone.
Oh.
I just
Wow.
felt so unloved and so unwanted. Oh my God, how did this? I would have never put that with
Mm-hmm.
today. So then
Mm-hmm.
we explore a little bit more. Okay, well, did dad really mean what? Okay, what was going on with dad? Then they start exploring dad's past. Well, this is what was going on with dad, and this is dad's history. Then they're like, oh my gosh, dad wasn't okay either. Dad wasn't okay either. Yeah, and
Wow.
that's the limiting belief that has been passing down generation
Yes.
after generation. But I tell them the
Mm-hmm.
beautiful thing
Mm-hmm.
is your consciousness to be able to turn to that thing and even just recognize there's a problem here.
Yeah.
Something's off.
Yep. Yep.
Like just that alone. So that's how when I'm working with clients, that's how they come to these discoveries of, oh my gosh, these things. And then it's very interesting because then some of them even get more curious, and
Mm-hmm.
then they go back and they start asking questions of like aunts that are still around or uncles, and like, okay, what happened? What was going on here? What You got to get curious about your past to understand where you are in the present.
So true. And I don't think that people know to do that, right?
No.
We don't really know. I mean, in general, humans don't think that. We look at what's going on in this present moment.
Mm,
We look around and we're like, huh, well, this is what's going on for me today. We were just talking about this. I did that relationship reset course,
yes.
and we were talking a lot about triggers in that course.
Mm,
And yeah, and I'm like, it's all limiting beliefs. Speaking of limiting beliefs, like you're talking about from
yeah.
childhood.
From
Like
childhood.
they're just sitting in there inside of us. And that's why we get so triggered. But we don't
Yeah.
think about it. We want to blame the person or blame the circumstance in today's reality. It's like
Yeah.
it wasn't born there though. That belief, you've been carrying that thing around since you were 4 years old or 6 years old or
Yeah.
2 years old. It's in there.
Easy.
We don't know that they're in there. So I love this process that you're walking us through because it
Mhm.
really is a self-discovery process of, and it clearly, because you just did it with me, it's not difficult.
No, it's not. Once you get into it, once people really start to get into it, I'll do like the biggest thing I is important for a lot of my clients who come in because most of them are like going, 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 which is
Right.
why most people don't know what the problem is because we live in this fast-paced culture of
Totally.
just act
Yeah.
like nothing's going on, right? Just
Yeah. Yeah.
that's so the biggest thing is slowing them down.
Yep.
Once you start slowing them down and they start tapping back, it's this, oh, where did that come? And I'm like, that's your story. You tell me where it came from. Oh my God. Oh, I just went back to when I was in Sunday school. Oh my God. I just went back to elementary school. Oh my, and so when they're able to slow down
Yeah.
and really find that root, where's the root? Where did this begin? It's like
Yeah.
I love the saying, It's seed, time, and harvest. A seed
Yes. Ooh, I
planted
like that.
years ago. Years ago, a seed was planted. And
Mhm.
over time, that seed grew. And now you have it manifesting in your adult life, and there's this harvest coming up. I had worked with a teacher one time, and it was similar around marriage. And the teacher said, yeah, when I do marriage counseling and people come in, I tell them, I don't even want to know what's going on in the marriage right now. First thing I ask them is, tell me about what's going on with you between 0 and 7.
Oh my, are they doing the adult chair too?
But yeah,
Oh,
this was like years ago. I heard this and I was like, what?
yeah.
They said when I first started doing marriage counseling, I was like, oh, what's going on? And what did he do? And what did she do?
No,
I don't ask
no,
that anymore. I say, tell me
no.
what's going on with you between
Yeah.
0 and 7.
That's when everything is planted in that unconscious mind. That's where all these limiting
Yes.
beliefs are. That's where we
Yes.
have to be looking, and people don't know to do that.
Yes.
They do not.
No, they don't. But we have these things like the adult share model. We have these beautiful things like podcasts where I think we're at a place where people are searching.
Yeah,
People are tired.
I do. I
People
agree.
are tired.
I actually agree.
People are like, this can't be it. I mean, I got there. That's how I ended up. Like, this can't be all that there is. Like,
Right.
there's got to be more to it than this. And
Yeah.
then there's that fear. I think there's that apprehension of, well, if I start digging this stuff up, then what? Well, then what?
Yeah. Then I'm going to feel lighter, more empowered, more peaceful, more in balance,
Freedom.
and freedom. That's my last freedom.
Freedom. The freedom.
Freedom.
The
Less triggered. I
freedom.
mean, Lord.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's what I encourage my clients when they first come in, even if we're doing a consultation, they're not for sure. Like, I don't really know. I'm like, the work is worth it.
Oh, yeah.
The
100%.
work is worth it.
100%.
For you, for your past, for your
Yeah.
future, the
Mhm.
work is worth it. And it's not as long as a process as some people might think it is. I've been in consultations, Michelle, where in 20 minutes, I've had literally people like, wait, what? Wait, what? How did you? I'm
How'd you do
like,
that so fast?
I just asked you a question because it's already there.
Well, and here's the thing. You just said, I just asked you a question, but you
Mhm.
asked the right question.
Yes.
And you know how to crack people open. And yes, we learned
Yeah.
this, of course, in the adult chair model, but you've crafted from that model your own model.
Yeah.
And you are absolutely asking the right questions and cracking them open for fast transformation and
Yeah.
relief from their pain, their emotional
Mm.
disturbance, their limiting beliefs, all of these things. It's fast. That's what I like about this so
Yeah.
much. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like a little still shocked. I got to like process when I get off of here because
You did
how
great
quickly
work,
you hit me. And I was
Michelle.
like, well, wait, what? What just happened? Like,
You did
and
great work, Michelle.
so you've got the fifth part to all this is
Yeah.
empowerment.
Empowerment. So once you've gone through the story, you are now empowered with a new narrative. And
Yeah.
this new narrative pulls up the things that have been lying dormant: your
Yeah.
resilience, your power,
Hmm.
your worth. And really, up underneath all of it is your authentic self. And Michelle, I'll go back to the example that you use. You didn't let dad's limiting beliefs stop you. Look at where you are today.
Yeah.
You are moving in that full empowerment. That's what it looks like. Like, that's what it feels like. It's like, no, I'm gonna do a TED talk. Okay, cool. Call me when you go to Oprah, because I just want to make sure that I tune in.
All my
I just
friends
want
from
to
high
make
school
sure.
keep telling me that. They're like, we
Yes,
know you're going to make it on Oprah.
you're
I'm
gonna
like,
make. Oh, I'm a
Oprah
fan,
doesn't even
but
have
it's
a show
okay.
anymore.
It's okay. She will find something. She will.
Okay.
She's Oprah, Michelle. She'll find something. It's
I'm going to
fine.
meet her someday. That
Super
is,
Soul
I
Sunday
am going to,
Wednesday.
I'm intending that. I've been saying that for years. She's on my vision board, actually.
I love it. Yeah, but that's the empowerment piece. You
Mhm.
went from this kid who was afraid and let me not be seen and let me be quiet, to standing on stages empowering other people to
That's
find their
true.
own voice, to find their own
Good.
power.
I think I'm having a little transformation or a big one right here because you're so right. You know what else that just occurred to me when you said that? Because I want to get back to my own session here for everyone listening. When I was a little kid, I didn't really speak till I was 6 or 7, meaning I was so painfully shy, scared to death scared to death to talk to anybody. I was afraid of the whole world. My mom said I would live behind her leg. When we'd go out in public, I was one of those
Mm.
little kids that would peer around her leg and then I'd look forward. And she's like, you didn't talk to anybody. I was so
Wow.
scared of the whole world. And now look at me with a microphone in front of my
With a
face. Like,
microphone.
and I'm realizing how, as I look at Zoom with you right now, I'm realizing
Mhm.
this is a big deal compared to the 0 to 6 year old little kid that I was.
Yeah,
Because if you would have asked me then, of course, when I'm 6, like I will never do what I'm doing, get on a stage and
yeah,
teach a certification course and teach live events and write books. No, that's too scary. And to put myself out there in that way, but
yeah.
man,
You're in your empowerment. You are walking in
yeah,
your power. You're in
yeah.
step 5. This is the power. This is the power you're walking in. And that power, when you are in your power, I
Mhm.
truly believe you are in overflow.
Ooh, I
And when
love
you
that.
are in overflow, you are able to then feed and provide and share and help build up others. But when you're
Ooh,
that little 6, 7-year-old behind mom's leg, you
yeah.
know, no. But now because you have discovered who you are, you
Hmm.
have found what is fact and truth for you. You are stepping
Hmm.
in that power. You're
Yeah.
moving in abundance and overflow for others to be able to benefit from that work.
Oh, wow. That's so amazing. I love this
Yeah.
process. Damn. So good. Well, thank you. So what are clients saying about this process? Because I'm like kind of blown. I'm clearly, have I
Yeah.
said it 10 times, everybody? I'm really blown away, but I really didn't know this is exactly what you're doing. And it's really
Yeah.
incredible. You're having
I've
some good
had,
feedback.
yeah, really amazing feedback from it. And people just, a lot of my clients coming back and saying, man, I didn't even think, I didn't see, like, it's a lot of, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming. But
That's how
now
I
that
feel,
they,
like
yeah,
blindsided in a really good way, though.
yeah,
It's
they're
like,
like,
wait.
I didn't make that connection. I didn't see that coming. And I tell them, you did the work. And so once they open, it's like once that one box is open, then
Mm,
it becomes okay. What other box do I need to open? It's like there's all these boxes in like a house, and they're
yeah.
like, okay, let me start unpacking this box. Whereas before they're like, I don't even see the boxes. There's no boxes there. Now it's like, okay,
Mm,
no, let's go open this box and see what's over here. Let's go open this box. And they really are seeing a transformation in their life. I've had clients come back and share about how they've reconnected in new ways with their children, how
mm,
they reconnect even in relationships with their parents where there was
wow.
disconnect with their parents, because of the frictions or the things that happened in the past,
Sure.
healing those relationships with their parents and understanding, humanizing their parents. That, I
Yeah.
think that was probably my favorite feedback is my mom wasn't just my mom. My mom is a human. She was a woman just living
Wow.
her life before she became my mother. And now I see that. I get that. I understand that. So I can give her grace and I can forgive and I can move on for myself. Once I heard that, I was like, we're good.
That's all you needed to hear.
We're good. We're good. Yeah. So it
I
is a
love
very
this.
powerful work. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very powerful.
Ah, thank you. Is there
Yeah.
anything more that to share about this? I like this. The explore your past, heal your
Mhm.
present, transform your legacy,
Yes.
explore, heal, and transform with the 5 W's and the adult chair model. And then fifth is empowerment.
Yes.
Powerful work here.
Fifth is empowerment. And when you empower yourself,
Mhm.
I always say, as best as you can in your capacity, reach back
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
bring somebody else along, because to your left and to your right,
Yeah.
there are people who are going through the same thing. I tell my clients, don't be
All the
silent,
time.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
turn to your left and your right. Who is wounded? Who is
Yep.
needing this healing? That way, because we also heal in community. We don't
Mhm.
just heal as individuals, we heal in community. So then I encourage my clients to reach out to others, share your story. I'm really big on sharing. So I'm huge. I've been obsessed with storytelling since I was a kid. And that's why I love Oprah, because
Yeah.
to me, I never really realized how powerful sharing your story could be. You could be in Texas and somebody hear your story in the Philippines and they're like, I get it. Like,
I
I
get
thought it
it.
was just me. Like, it's
You know,
not just me.
we all have so much of the same stuff
Yes.
inside, don't we? I mean, that's one of my favorite things
Yes.
to do is doing group events. because with group events, even like I said, I just did the relationship reset course online, but I love also doing my live events,
Yeah.
whether it's the coaching program or just doing an adult chair live event, because we do so much with groups. I love watching all these people connect and say, me
Mhm.
too, me too. Like,
It's the me
I
too.
have that same thing. I didn't know you were going through that. I thought I was the only one.
Yes,
If I've
I
heard
thought
that
it was
once, I've heard it 1,000 times. I
yeah.
can't believe so-and-so is going through the same exact thing that I'm going through. And so are 5 other people over there. I'm like, there are a lot more than that. If you
Yeah, it's
just
a lot more. It's
a lot.
people want we are in a time where people want to feel seen
Yeah.
and heard.
Yep.
They do. They want to feel
Yep.
seen and they want to feel heard. And when you're in that space where you can do your work privately, but then
Yeah.
be able to take that to a bigger group, that's gold. That
It
is
is.
gold because you realize I'm not alone. It's not
Yeah.
just me. I'm not, and I mean, social media. I mean, you see
Yeah.
it in social media all the time. You'll see different things circulate, and I'll see videos all the time, and I'm like, I thought that was just my family.
Nope.
And you're like, this person lives in a whole other country, and they do the same thing. So it brings together that sense of community healing when you have one that's willing to say, "Hey, I turned to the darkness and I looked at it, and I was
Mhm.
able to work through it, and here we are. Let's
Mm,
keep doing that.
so
Let's
good.
keep doing that." Yeah.
So good.
Mhm.
Wow. This was phenomenal.
Thank you.
So incredibly surprised. And as one of our adult chair coaches, I'm so proud to have you as one of our light warriors, you know?
Oh, Michelle, I will tell you, we talked in South Carolina, and I was telling you, I've seen a lot of things in my life. I've been in many rooms where, information on healing and transformation has happened. And I'm telling you, and I tell people that I know and that I meet, I've never seen anything like this.
Mm,
I've never seen, I've spent years in spiritual spaces.
yeah.
And I'll tell you, the last couple years, Michelle, and even just going through the coaching program, I did not know that so much transformation can happen in 12 months.
Right. I know.
12 months. And that's because I'm
I
focusing
know.
and digging in. But
Yeah.
being a coach and being on this side of it, I've seen transformation happen in 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know, right?
Literally,
Crazy.
like I had
Crazy.
one client that came, it was a consultation, it was some blocks, 20 minutes we worked through the blocks. She was like wanting to start a business. The next week she launched her business.
Dang. That's
I was like,
incredible.
she was like, hey, just FYI, because I checked on her. I was like, oh yeah, I launched the business. Here's the website and here's the social media. And I was like,
You want to know what though? I gotta tell you something. Let's talk about how you're paving the way 7 generations before and after, right?
yes,
What you just said about this client, you did that in your own life. Like how
yes.
I'm pointing at you.
Yeah.
I remember you last January in the coaching program, and you said to me, like, I don't know, should I leave my job? I don't know. You're going back and forth. And I look at you again in 12 months, and I'm like,
Literally,
my head wants to spin around like, wow, like you really
literally.
you took everything and you ran with it, and you are doing a phenomenal job. So bravo
Thank
to you.
you. Thank you.
Bravo.
Like I said, I had an amazing teacher.
Oh, thank you.
I had an
Thank you.
amazing
So
teacher.
fun. Hey, you know what? You're an amazing student too. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So where would people find you that might want to, do this work? This is amazing. So where would people
Yeah,
find you?
absolutely. Sure. You can reach me on my website. It's a newlifestorycoaching.com. I'm also on Instagram. I spend some time on Instagram throughout the week. And then I also, not too long ago, I launched a podcast as well because Michelle's my inspiration. And it's called A New Life Story and Consciously Uncovering Your Authentic Self. So over there, both on the website as well as on the podcast, it's more tools on how to use this model to transform your story from self-worth to
Oh, great.
identifying emotional barriers. So yeah, either any of those places, my website, Instagram, or the podcast. And I'd love to hear from anybody. Reach out.
Yeah, for sure.
Reach
Absolutely. Go check her out. I love this. A new life story process.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well,
Thank
thank you so
you.
much. I love having you here. This has been great.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate you so much.
All right, you guys, that's all we have for you today. And I will be seeing you next week, seated right here in my adult chair.